Hey, good afternoon, Tom. Again, G-Force. G-Force. Hey, I made an announcement earlier today, and I appreciate anybody that's on that you tag and share this information. We're going to be getting into the beginning part of this book, Your Why. On Monday, I talked a little bit about something that shook me at an emotional level to reevaluate my why. And it had me rethink a lot of different things. What is my purpose? What am I willing to stand up for? What am I not going to let get in the way when I know something could help somebody or bring something to somebody's attention that could make a big difference? See, many people are just walking this earth without really understanding their why. Yeah, we've got some basic surface things, but most people don't have a clear understanding of their why. And I learned something in a teachings by Dr. Miles Monroe that your vision forms that solid core of your why and what you're going to stand up for and what you're going to live for and what are you going to die for if you need to. What are you willing to do with your why? It's not just, oh, I want to have more money. I want to travel more. I want to, I do want to have an impact in the world. But what do you really want to do with your why? So it's really important. I shared that story. I had some information that I didn't share. And I don't know if he would have accepted it, used it, benefited from it. But I know this, it wouldn't have hurt. And it could have made a difference in Tom's well-being because he passed. Sick man, diabetes. But what I know about this information could have made a difference in life or death. I don't know that. I only would have known if I would have shared and he accepted. So it shook me up a little bit this last week when he passed. And then last night, before I get into the story, last night I was introduced to a story. And again, another thing that challenged what's my belief? What's my why? What am I going to stand up for? And I'm going to share that story with you. I'm going to have you ask yourself some questions as I share it. But I want to get back to gratitude. Gratitude, I believe, is one of the most powerful entities you can apply in your life. When you study it, you apply it. It helps you get clear on your why. It gets you through difficulties. It helped me, gratitude, get through Tom's circumstance of passing. Helped me get through it. Look back and be grateful. What I learn that I don't want to make that mistake again? So gratitude powers your why. Be grateful. Be grateful for this moment. So gratitude is a very powerful thing. It changes your perspective, gives you hope, solidifies what's really important to you. Because most people aren't strong in their why. And when we have gratitude, we start appreciating things at a deeper level. So we're going to be getting into this. I'm going to make an announcement, get this out of the way. We've got some announcements coming up. Let's see. First announcement is Friday's guest, Samantha Mason Vasquez. She's a past client of mine. I've worked with her over the last several years. We've become friends. I've encouraged her to go after her dreams. She's done the hard work. She's gotten clear on her why and what she wants to do. Got out of her corporate comfort zone, doing some very significant things from some major corporations and companies. But she recognized it wasn't fulfilling. She wanted more, and she got clear on her why. And she's gone out and carving a new path for herself, her family, creating a legacy with a why to help other people. So I'm excited to have Friday's guest come in. Again, turn on your notifications. We are going to, I have to go look at my calendar. I think I moved it because of conflict and schedule. We are meeting on Friday at 12:15 Central Time, 12:15. So turn on your notification. We're meeting a little earlier so that I could have finished up a client facilitation. And I don't like rushing out of one and rushing into something else. I want to give my full attention and focus on the moment of who I'm working with. So a slight adjustment. I'll make another announcement and confirm the date. So one of the things I've looked at, and it's sort of come about for a while, but I've created G-Force, and I have a sponsor. It's my own company I'm associated with, but the message is important, and I just want to continue keeping that out there. And my company sponsor is a company about truth through knowledge. Truth through knowledge. You know, it's when we hear truth, do we have an opportunity to grow? And this company brings a lot of truth, a lot of integrity. They call it ethos in their corporate mantra. So I'm affiliated with this company. I want to promote the company because the good and the truth they take to the marketplace in the healthcare space is very significant. And I just encourage people, this is an advertisement. This is something, if you're serious about your health, or you know somebody else that is struggling for health, are you looking to do preventive things in your health? Are you an athlete? Are you got aches and pains? Do you have any chronic illnesses? And you're sort of not getting results from your current methodologies? Then I encourage you to take a look at ASEA redox molecule. So that's going to be, I'll be talking about that. It's because it's so important. Sort of woke me up when Tom passed, and I didn't share this technology with him. And I want to share it out there. Whoever's watching this, take the time to look. Make up your own mind. Do your own research. It's not Google. You know, Google is a search engine. It's not a research engine. You can go to Google Research and look up the gray papers and look at the science and the blind studies about what redox molecules are. Because it's been touted that this may be the greatest medical breakthrough of the 21st century. A lot of studies going on, over 30,000 peer reviews and research and growing. 14 major independent research labs are doing the blind studies and the scientific studies around the product and what it does in different areas of health. And there's a great story behind it as well. And so that's my new corporate sponsor. I'm going to bring up this right here, ASEA, from the sea. So if you study the root words of ASEA, is that this product, this technology, is what's within us. Saline, salt water. Our bodies and our cells are made up with salt water. And what happens with this technology is a breakthrough. It's a cellular health that determines the quality of life we have. And so just take a good hard look at it. And I'll be sharing some more information in and around this. But ASEA is my company sponsor that I want to promote. As this grows for my business, I'll be able to do more and impact more people's lives. Some of the missions that I have and some of the foundations I want to support are going to come from ASEA. And I just want to get that out there. My causes are getting clear. So that's what I want to announce today. Slight commercial there, but I believe everybody should know. So I'm just going to put up a banner here so that those are watching this, you can share it out. You know where to go to get the information. And I always say, what's in this blue bottle? I'm going to bring up this picture real quick because what's in this blue bottle? You can find out all the information right there at Linktree/4 Rivers. I was introduced to it nearly 5 months ago, and it's made a significant difference in my personal health. It's also made a significant difference in our 4 Rivers Center for Wellbeing, our clients, what's going on there, and of course, what's going on worldwide with the technology and how it's improving people's lives. Can't make claims it's going to cure anything. I'm going to put up a disclaimer as I move forward here, as I talk about it, to stay in compliance with the FDA, Federal Trade Commission, and those type of things. But in time, redox, cellular signaling, is going to be a common word in every household. And ASEA has the technology patented. So if you're looking for a business opportunity and want to do something for the right reason, I'd encourage you to look at ASEA. There is a significant opportunity. But let's get in to start with your why. Start with your why. As I start, I'm going to read, when I was reading the preface, when we look at great leaders, people are accomplishing things at very significant, higher levels. A lot of these people have some innate talents and abilities, but most people learn these skills. And Simon Sinek did a lot of research. He's a consultant. He's recognized as probably the #1 TED Talk speaker in the world, teaching these principles. Because when we understand it, and a couple of things with gratitude and your why and some other principles, you will rock your world. You will make a difference. So it's learned. And we're also influenced how we view our why by the culture we live in. You got to break that down. You got to get it out of the way because it's going to influence your why. You got to get that out of the way and get to that core values, the core emotional reason why you're going to stand up and do something, and it should run across every aspect of your life, not just in your business. It should be part of your creed for your family. It should be part of your ethos in business. It should be the foundation of your faith. It should be the foundation of relationships with family, your significance, friends, your why. When you get clear on that, everything around you changes. You get clearer. You get more purposeful. And that happened to me because I had a why statement. I want to make an impact in the world and help people in any area. I do many things to help in that area, but guess what? I didn't do it. I was out of integrity with myself. And I let fear get in the way. I wanted to learn more. I wanted this or that. And I knew enough to share it right from the beginning. Don't let all these false thoughts get in the way of your why to make an impact and a difference in people's lives. And Simon Sinek really gets into this in a deep way. I've read this book several times. I use the principles in my book. And guess what? As I grow and other people bring a new level of awareness in this, I grow. But sometimes for us to grow, we have to have a sudden emotional impact. And I had one last week. And I'm not going to let that happen again. That's why I'm making ASEA a marketing message. It's important. It's important for people to know. And I've taken this position where once you know about it, you're not going to hold the information back. I guarantee it, whether you use the product or not. But if you know somebody that could possibly benefit, You owe it to other people. Don't make the decisions for other people. I see it all the time. We let other people influence what they should be looking at. Take time to do your own due diligence in anything that you do and get firm on it. Don't let things influence you like it did me. We got somebody coming in here. Thanks for coming on. Hey, Robert, appreciate you, man. We got to get together. So you know how to get a hold of me. You got my link tree, my calendar's there. I'd like to have some deeper dives and conversations with a few things with you. But let's talk about the why. In the beginning here, we look at leaders, we look at successful people, and we think they're special. Well, what I found out is they're just like you and I, but they got clear of their why, their purpose. And then they didn't let anything get in the way. I shared my story of Art Williams says, what's your crusade? What are you willing to die for? What are you willing to fight for? And that was sort of the foundation, but I didn't live it to the core depth what it is. I lived it on the surface. I'm being authentic with you. I've helped a lot of people and it's been a passion of mine, but I let myself and my fears, my doubts, and all those things get in the way to really share a message. I'm not going to let that happen again. So it's important. So in the beginning of the book, he was talking about, we have these perceptions of leadership and success that are false. And I'm going to just start out. And as I go through this first story, I want you to answer a question. So I'm going to read this. Evaluate and determine who said this. See if anything comes to you. On a cold January day, a 43-year-old man was sworn in as the chief executive of his country. By his side stood his predecessor, a famous general who for 15 years earlier had commanded his nation's armed forces in a war that resulted in the defeat of Germany. The young leader was raised in the Roman Catholic faith. He spent the next 5 hours watching parades in his honor and stayed up celebrating until 3 o'clock in the morning. Who am I describing here? Anybody want to make a comment? Who am I describing? Any comments? It was January 30, 1933. And I'm describing Adolf Hitler and most people think it was John F. Kennedy. So if you're going to get clear on your why, we have been programmed to look at things and evaluate things on assumptions. What are the assumptions that you have that are holding you back from you being the best version of yourself or your greatest potential in all areas of your life? We make the assumptions around us and we form our why around what we think culture tells us we should be and how we should be and who we should be. We live in what is the assumptions you're making your why around? What's influencing it? See, that's a great illustration. If we hear that story, we're making assumptions based on what? Limited information. We're ignorant at that point. And we jump to conclusions. But in reality, that was Adolf Hitler. That was Adolf Hitler. So what are the assumptions that you have that form your beliefs, that form your why? What's influencing you? Those are questions. When you dive into this book, and I'm going to get into these lessons, but I'm not going to get into some specific stuff today. I just want to bring a new level of awareness to how to create a why. It's a clear picture of an outcome you seek that you're emotionally attached to. You're willing to die for it. You're willing to commit everything you have for it, whether it be your family, your business, your political, your religious beliefs. What are you willing to stand up for? And guess what I have found? Put me in this category as well. I'm not immune to this. I let the world influence how I respond to my why. What are people going to think? What are the consequences? Oh, it can't be that bad. I will just hold back, and that's secret to me and no one needs to know about it. I'll give it the surface. Why? What are you willing to stand up for? So, what are your assumptions? So I want to share a story with you. And what I'd like you to do as I go through this story, thanks. Great. Absolutely right, Mark. Absolutely right. Good comment, Robert. I appreciate it. King David. Okay. And that's a good conversation to understand some of the principles here in your life. So I'm going to share this story. And as I go through it, I want you to ask yourself some questions at the end. What would you do if this was you? This happening to you? What would you do? Or hearing this story, what would you do to stand up for something you believe in? So I'm going to start this story out this way. See, the story works this way. A father, his teenage daughter in high school, was assaulted and raped in her high school. Can't comprehend that. How would you respond to that happening to your loved one, your child, your innocent child, molested and raped and accosted in a high school? And here's part of the story. Well, the school wanted to protect that information getting out there. To number one, protect the young girl. That I can't comprehend. But see, the school had a different agenda to keep it squashed. Yeah, the boy, young man, whatever you want to call him, an animal, was arrested but was released, and he was allowed to come back to school. The father was totally upset that was allowed to happen. Could you imagine that to your child? That, yeah, he got arrested, there was the consequences, but he's out of jail and he's back in school, the predator. And he was so upset, the school board was having a meeting. But see, the school was hiding that information not to protect the young girl, but to protect an agenda they had. So he goes to the school board and he found out what the agenda was, and the agenda was this. Because of our culture and the woke and all this stuff, they wanted to make it a school policy that young boy that felt that he was a girl at that moment could use the girls' bathroom. They wanted to make that a priority at the school board. The father was outraged. He went to the school board, and they tried not to let him speak, but he got up and spoke because they wanted to pass that agenda for whatever that cause is. And he stood up and he says, you let that animal back into school that raped my daughter, and you hid that information for your crazy cause. And in that discussion with the school board, and keep in mind, in part of this story, what if the government solicited the Federal Bureau of Investigation to collaborate with school districts and squash anybody that challenged a school board? So he's expressing, why are you doing this? Don't you understand what's going on? And one of the school board members was trying to silence him. He says, we will have you thrown in jail. The police were there to squash his free speech. And one of the school board members made a comment, and he used the description of a female dog to her. And she took it, you are threatening me. Arrest him. The police wrestled him to the ground. He was taken to jail, charged with disturbing the peace, assault and battery, and some other crimes. To silence his protest, because there's more to this story. Because of the action of that school board, that animal was allowed back into school. They passed that resolution that allow that person to identify himself as another sex to use the facilities. And guess what happened? He assaulted and raped another girl. How would you, hearing this for the first time, what would you do if that's true? What would you do as a father to stand up for the right of your child, to protect his child, to protect other children? He was willing to go and speak out. Now, he wasn't threatening violence. He wasn't doing anything. He was just questioning their sanity. And they squashed his silence and arrested him. Now he's a felon. Now they're calling him a domestic terrorist. How would you respond if that was you? How would you respond if that's true? Would you stand up and speak up and rally around injustice? Is your why strong enough on a political basis or a cause basis to stand up or right or wrong? Most don't. Most don't, because they're afraid of what somebody might think. Their why isn't strong enough. Their purpose, what are they willing to die and stand up for, is not strong enough, and they let injustice reign. See, that is not a false story. That just happened. That just happened this last week. Our government has commissioned the Federal Bureau of Investigation to squash free speech at school boards if they feel that your words are threatening. There was no physical violence. Folks, wake up. Are you willing to stand up against that injustice, that tyranny? Look at the injustice that happened to the child and the other girl that got raped because they had their own agenda. They wanted to squash the news. They're still squashing it. Guess what? That whole narrative that I just shared with you was on the news last night. What are you going to do about your why? We get so hung up in just on the surface things. And my why is I want to make some difference in the world. But are you willing to stand up and fight for a cause, an injustice? Are you willing to stand up for your religious freedoms and your free speech? Most aren't. I've made a decision. I'm going to speak up. That's what I'm doing today. Bring awareness. Folks, be aware of what's going on in your communities. People say it can't be that bad. Well, guess what? That's pretty bad. That is a reality. And it's not just happening in that one community in New Jersey or Pennsylvania where, and you can go and hear the broadcast out there, and I may get shut down because this person is controversial politically, but it is a fact. He read the reports. He read the accusations. He read everything as fact, what had happened. What are you going to do? What would you do as a father? I praise that father that he didn't go there with a true malice intent to hurt somebody because of that policy. But he went there to speak up, to bring attention to an injustice. See, your why's got to be stronger than something on the surface. What are you willing to do to fight for your liberty, your freedoms? What are you willing to do to stand up for your right to express yourself? I'm not talking rallying to create violence or anything like that, but standing up for your cause, no matter what it is. That's a true story. What would you do? What are you willing to do when you see injustice happening to you, happening to a loved one, happening to somebody in your community? Are you just going to say, well, I don't want to get involved? See, we have a responsibility to bring truth to wrongdoings, no matter what the issue is, no matter what your political beliefs are, no matter what your faith is. We know truth, we know in wrongdoing, and what most people do not stand up for it. So today I'm preaching because that's a reality of what's happening, and most people are asleep. They're putting their head in the sand. Oh, it can't be that bad. That's an isolated thing. Folks, it's not isolated. So I appreciate you. What would you do? How strong is your why? Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful. It could be here today and gone tomorrow. Are you willing to stand up and express yourself? I may get shut down because of this. Somebody may be looking over his shoulder. That sounds like a political rally cry, an opposing view to what's being taught in our culture. I'll take that risk. I'll take that risk. So thank you. Hey, Christopher. Gratitude, baby. Massive to keeping the proper perspective and attitude. Man, you're awesome, dude. Man, I appreciated your talk last night. Gabrielle, poor girl. Concentrate all men that will save. Okay, I'm not going to put that out there in verbiage, but I'll let people read it. And again, Mark, thanks for your comment. Thanks for acknowledging, Chris. But that was my message today. Number one, I had a personal awakening of I didn't stand up for my why when I could have shared something to make possibly made a difference in somebody's life, and I didn't. What are you doing? What if that was your daughter, your child? Would you stand up? Would you make yourself known to right the wrong? Most people don't. Are you willing to rally around wrongs? Most people don't. How strong is your why? When you get a strong why, you become a crusader. You start making a difference in the world, no matter what it is. It's not a right or a left thing. It's not a Republican or Democrat thing. There's right and there's truth. There's right and wrong, and we all know it. When you get to the truth, it always reveals itself. So what's your truth mantra? What creed do you live by? Are you willing to die for your cause, for your liberties, your freedoms? Many people do. They serve, give everything they have, including their lives and limbs. Most people aren't willing to do that. Are you willing to die for your cause? Protect your children, protect your family. Your why is so important. It will be the core of who you are and what you do and why you would do what you do. And you will make a difference in the world, whether it be politically, spiritually, business, or whatever. We're going to dive deep into this book. This is a very influential, deep diving book. Mark says, Muhammad Ali stood up big time. Love him, disagree with him. Ali never talked bad about his country and did not run away from his country either. He had principles. He had faith that he didn't want to violate that creed, that faith, and he stood up and he suffered the consequences of that. It was all resolved in our great country that allows that process to happen. In many countries, he would have been silenced and never seen again. And guess what? It's happening all over the world. There's people are speaking up and they never see them again. Interesting. What happened to them? It could happen here. Tyranny. Are you willing to sign up for your personal liberties? Do you know what your liberties are? They're endowed, and your freedoms are endowed by a higher power, not by man or a government. Are you willing to stand up for that? So I'm getting a little emotional today because I see it in my community. People says, "Oh, Tom, that's not true." You know what? There was a book in the children's library in the school, and the title of the book was How to Lick a Lesbian. And that's being in grammar schools, libraries. That's what's being taught. That's what's being promoted. Are you willing to allow those type of things to be in your schools? See, we can go on and on. There's things that are not right. What are you letting people do to influence your children? It's your child. You have the responsibility to influence them, not some private agenda. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Ali, love him, hate him, or whatever. I admire what he stood up and what he did. Brought unity together with standing up. You know, if we stand up, we can create some unity. There's some commonality, no matter what side of the fence you're on, politically, spiritually, or whatever. There are some common truths that we can all support each other in. Get rid of the bitterness and anger. Make it part of your why. Be a loving, caring, empathetic person. So with that all said, Friday's guest is going to be Samantha Mason Vasquez, a client of mine. I've mentored her. I've coached her last almost 4 years now. She is making a big jump and to go from the corporate world, very influential person at Google and some other companies, with her knowledge and expertise, a comfy job, making mega money. But she decided to risk that to go after her why, her purpose. She burned the ship. She burned the ship. So with that all said, I just want to wish everybody for the jumped on, Christopher, Robert, Mark, of course, share this out. Hopefully we'll touch somebody that brings a new level of awareness, because if we get out of ourselves and start looking around, and if when our why is strong, we can look at the world differently, have a different perspective, be grateful. With that all said, have a great day. Make it a great day. G-Force. Gratitude powers your why. See you on Friday.